Why is Serra Gaúcha the best place to start exploring Brazilian wine, and what does this stunning region look like if you'd like to visit? Which grape varieties thrive in Brazil, and which ones are different from those we find in North America? And what's happening with wine culture in Brazil? In today's episode, you'll hear the stories and tips that answer those questions in part 2 of our chat with Tufi Meyer, author of the terrific new book, Wines of Brazil. You don't need to have listened to part 1 from last week first, but if you missed it, go back and have a listen after you finish this one. By the end of our conversation, you'll also discover the story behind Casa Verrone's Purple Cow and what the tasting experience was like, how Brazilian wine law defines noble wine, the Brazilian wood used for barrel aging and how it impacts wines, what it means for a wine from anywhere to have a foxy aroma. I often hear that. The one message Tufi would like to share with international wine lovers about Brazilian wines. This conversation made me want to go to Brazil. What Tufi sees for the future of the Brazilian wine industry, and who Tufi would like to share a bottle of wine with. And I know, yes, I should not end a sentence with a preposition, but this was a really fascinating guest he named. Do you have a thirst to learn about wine? Do you love stories about wonderfully obsessive people, hauntingly beautiful places, and amusingly awkward social situations? Well, that's the blend here on the Unreserved Wine Talk podcast. I'm your host, Natalie McLean, and each week I share with you unfiltered conversations with celebrities in the wine world, as well as confessions from my own tipsy journey as I write my third book on this subject. I'm so glad you're here. Now pass me that bottle, please, and let's get started. Welcome to episode 355. On Global's morning show, we chatted about wine classes because, well, it's that time of the year, back to school for the kids. But what about the adults? So if you have a thirst to learn more about wine, you might be considering taking a wine course. But how do you choose which one is right for you, and what exactly will you learn? Wine is such a versatile subject. Whether you want to skip along the surface like a flat rock over a lake and just determine the styles you want to drink, or you want to take the deep dive into viticulture, terroir, and winemaking science. Selecting the right class for you depends on your goals. So, question number 1, why even take a wine course, a structured course? While there's plenty of free content online, it's often incomplete. A wine column from a newspaper may tell you about one grape or a few wines, but it's not a holistic approach. You can also listen to podcasts, hint, hint. I guess you're already listening. They help, but they're not organized in a progressive manner that take you from the fundamentals to advanced levels of knowledge. You can also spend hours hunting and pecking for information online, just as you might for free videos showing you how to do core exercises for your abs versus taking a fitness class led by a trusted expert who helps you go from your current level of knowledge or fitness to the next one with a coherent program. So let's talk about what might be your goals in wanting to take a wine course. Number 1, socialize and meet others. Hey, wine's fun. So if you want to meet other people through a common love of wine, or maybe you want to find a new hobby that you and a friend or partner can pursue together without a big time commitment, you could start with a one-off class offered by recreational departments, local liquor stores, wineries and restaurants, including winemaker dinners and winery tasting room classes. You can also book a wine tasting guide to come to your home and lead you and your friends through an informal tasting. While I no longer do this personally, I can recommend folks who do it. So the time is usually a couple of hours. The cost, anywhere from $50 for wine samples and instruction only to, say, $150 or more for a winemaker-led multi-course dinner with wine. These classes might focus on learning about one type of wine, such as comparing Merlots from different regions to understand how location affects flavor, or other aspects. Let's say your goal, number 2, is to increase personal enjoyment and knowledge. You want to become more knowledgeable as a drinker and increase your personal enjoyment of it while learning how to maybe pair it with food. So you might seek out a 5 to 10 week introductory course like those offered by community colleges through continuing education departments. Often these are offered one evening a week for 2 to 3 hours. Online courses now offer similar content to these and involve real-time online video instruction and interaction. The advantage, of course, is not having to drink and drive, even though you really technically should be spitting those samples, people, but who really does? You don't have to get a babysitter or pay for parking. This is also an attractive option for those who live in smaller towns where wine courses aren't offered. The time is usually 15 to 30 hours over 5 to 10 weeks. College courses usually range from between $600 and $1,000. Online courses are usually half that price for the same time period and content. At this level, you learn the basics of pairing wine and food, using different wine styles, perhaps a crisp Chardonnay, an elegant Pinot Noir, and a bold Cabernet Sauvignon. All right, number 3, perhaps your goal is personal knowledge, but you want to go beyond just the basics. So if you want to take your personal knowledge further than that, so that you can plan gastro vacations or maybe host an informal wine tasting with your friends. You don't want to become a sommelier, but you have a thirst for more than just the basics. Often you can build on continuing education college courses, as many do offer like anywhere from 6 to 8 different courses without requiring you to complete them all. Again, online courses have this same flexibility. The time, 15 to 30 hours, usually over a 5 to 10 week period. Post-intro college courses usually range from $1,000 and higher. Online courses, again, come in at about half the price for the same time period and content. Here you might want to do a deeper dive into particular wine regions or exploring different areas within the same region and what they produce in terms of different wines. Goal number 4, professional development. So if you dream of working in the wine industry, such as being a sommelier or wine importer, you'll want a more comprehensive program. Often you can still continue with those college courses to achieve a diploma and become a sommelier. These programs usually offer both full and part-time study. There are also certification granting organizations such as the Master of Wine or Master Sommelier program that require years of study, thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars, and difficult exams with notoriously low pass rates of less than 10%. Boy, what a pep talk that is, eh? Still, some self-described pathological optimists will pursue these designations because they are prestigious. As well, there are degree-granting programs in enology and viticulture from universities across the country and abroad, requiring 4 years of study plus work terms or stages at wineries. There are also wine MBA programs in regions like Bordeaux and Sonoma. These do take years to complete, and again, tens of thousands of dollars. I've always felt that wine could be the organizing hub for a liberal arts degree. Boy, wouldn't that be popular on campus. And with spokes emanating out for courses in culture, science, geography, history, commerce, art, religion, and philosophy, because wine connects to almost every facet of human endeavor. I have a Bachelor of Wine with a specialty in Merlot. Anyway, so back to online courses, because I do think they offer the best of both worlds. They're accessible to everyone, no matter where you live or what kind of mobility you have. They are more comprehensive than a one-off class, but not as technical and time-consuming as, say, a Master of Wine or those college courses, multiple courses. Plus, there's no drinking and driving home. Many students take courses together with a spouse or partner and treat it like date night at home. 1 course fee, 2 students. I've seen this over and over again with the students who take my online course called the Wine Smart Course, a full-bodied framework to taste, buy, and pair wine like a pro. And yes, of course I'm biased, but, I've done all the things. I've taken the different options. I'm not a Master of Wine, but, I've taken the college programs and other winemaker dinners, etc. Now I teach. So most of those who take this course want to become the go-to wine expert among their friends or family or colleagues, business colleagues. Those who work in the wine industry who take it are looking for more in-depth learning on food and wine pairing because often That's not offered by the course, as I've previously mentioned. Plus, food and wine pairing, this is the fun side of wine. So, to wrap it up, factors to consider when choosing a wine course. Number 1, the structure and breadth of the course. 2, the history and credentials of the instructor. Number 3, the reputation of the organization as a whole. Did I mention I've won a lot of awards? Never mind. Number 4, the pass rate for full completion of the program. Whether you're looking to socialize over wine, enhance your personal enjoyment, dive deeper into wine knowledge, or pursue professional development, there is a wine class that fits your goals, timeline, and budget. So if you are curious about my online course, you can take a free sample class with me called The 5 Wine and Food Pairing Mistakes That Can Ruin Your Dinner and How to Fix Them Forever at nataliemclean.com/class. And that's all in the show notes at nataliemclean.com/355. You'll also find me on Instagram at Natalie McLean Wine. Back to today's episode. 2 of you are going to win a copy of Tufi Meyer's terrific new book, The Wines of Brazil. This is a beautiful book with lots of color photos. If you'd like to win a copy, or maybe give it as a gift, email me and let me know you'd like to win. It doesn't matter where you live, I'll choose 2 winners randomly from those who contact me at natalie@nataliemclean.com. In other bookish news, if you've read the paperback or ebook or listening to the audiobook of my memoir, Wine Witch on Fire, Rising from the Ashes of Divorce, Defamation, and Drinking Too Much, a national bestseller and one of Amazon's best books of the year, I would love to hear from you at natalie@nataliemclean.com. I'd be happy to send you personally signed book plates. I'll put a link in the show notes to all retailers worldwide at nataliemclean.com/355. Okay, on with the show. You also note one winery, Casa Verrone's Purple Cow, as a real oddity. It's a single barrel of wine that's constantly added to and not sold, but rather reserved for visitors. Did you taste from that barrel?
I did. I was so very well received by Casa Verrone, the owner. He has his single barrel of which he calls Purple Cow. I don't know exactly why. He keeps filling it and removing some wine to offer to his visitors, just for visitors. He sells nothing of it. When I was there, I tasted the wine, but if you go there now, the wine will be different because you add every time. When I was there, it was very interesting. It reminded me of, say, Banyuls or a sweet wine like from
red
France.
dessert wine, yeah.
In the nose, but in the mouth, the wine is completely dry, bone dry.
That is unusual.
It's very unusual, considering that there is white wine, pink wine, and red wine mixed there.
It reminds me of the sherry blending system, blending off, although he's not blending, but he's kind of adding and taking away.
Yes, you could.
Yeah.
Yes, you could compare with the Sacas of sherry, although he has just one barrel, not a Solera.
Yeah. And you also talk about, I'm not going to pronounce this correctly, the Brazilian wine law.
Jabuticaba.
There you go. Are very specific. Brazilian wine law, is there any particular law you find unusual or one that might surprise us?
Let me justify why jabuticaba, because this fruit exists only in Brazil, and then anything that we have only here, we call, it's jabuticaba. That one of those things in law is one category of wine that law defines as vinho noble or noble wine.
Okay.
But this nobility has nothing at all to do with noble rot. There's nothing about botrytis, and there is nothing about quality too, or nobility from quality. It's just that the wine has 14% alcohol or more than that, and it's called as vinho noble or noble wine.
Noble wine for being high alcohol.
Yeah.
It'll make you feel like a noble or aristocratic.
Such a nobility, really.
That's odd. And can you share a specific example of a Brazilian wood that brings out different notes? You've described some Brazilian oak-aged woods as offering charming, slightly bitter tang, or that raises the black fruit notes in reds. So are they using native forests, native woods for their barrel aging?
Yeah, few people. It's not a widespread practice, but some enologists are doing research on this, and one of them, Gaspard de Saumont, which is a Frenchman, he has a winery in Campagna Gaúcha. He uses, for instance, Jequitibá Rosa, which is one of our woods, to mature Sauvignon Blanc, and this imparts some an agreeable bitter tang at the finish of the wine, without imparting any oaky characters. The wine is not strong in aromas. He also has a wine made from saperavi, which he ages in another wood, Putumuju, and it's quite interesting to bring forward the fruit character of saperavi, which is usually not very fruity. There are some other people doing such research, but this is a work in progress.
Okay.
We must wait.
Yes, like all good things. Now you seem like you're mentioning some grapes here, so let's dive into that because you say Brazil cannot be accused of monotony when it comes to grape varieties. You have 120 different Vitis vinifera grapes and more than 40 Vitis labrusca grapes. Can you highlight some of the leading white grapes and red grapes that are popular in the country or do well for grape quality wines?
Well, here, like in Argentina and the United States, Canada, or Chile, European grapes are the most successful. So Chardonnay, Sauvignon Blanc, Pinot Noir, Syrah, Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, and these are the most successful grapes so far. But we also have, for making our vinifera wines, varieties developed here in Brazil. The most successful so far is Lorena, which you will not find anywhere else. Embrapa developed a crossing. It's a white grape, very aromatic, very interesting, muscat-like, or reminds also of Gewürztraminer. It's very successful here and growing in popularity. Planted varieties are growing fast.
And how about a red grape, a native red grape that leads?
Well, Brazil has tried to develop some exclusive red grapes, but so far not with very good results. So you won't find red grapes that are equivalent to Lorena, for instance. You must content yourself with grapes from other countries. But we have a lot of them, much more than what I said.
Okay, yeah. Seems there's quite a variety. You mentioned the importance of sparkling wine. Are they made from the traditional grapes, Pinot Noir, Pinot Meunier, and Chardonnay?
Well, Meunier does not exist here, but Pinot Noir and Chardonnay are the mainstay of our traditional method. Wines, sparkling wine made in the image of champagne, for instance. But for tank method, there's a lot of other grapes like Riesling, Italico, and other, and Muscat, of course. Some of our most successful sparkling wines are sweet wines with low alcohol and high freshness and very aromatic from Muscat grapes.
Right, right. And the wine culture in Brazil, just while we're talking about that, you're talking about popularity. Is the wine culture itself very vibrant? Like you noted that sales are on the uptick, even with younger generations, which is surprising because in North America, and I would say probably Europe too, Generation Z, the youngest, they're like not drinking wine as much as previous generations were. What's happening with wine culture in Brazil and why?
I would say that the wine consumption is growing, although a little slowly. We would like to be faster. But with pandemics, for instance, we almost increased by half our wine consumption. After pandemic, it lowered a bit, but we are drinking wine more than ever. I presume this is because wine is fashionable, wine is very good to use with food, and people are curious about wine, wine education is progressing. All this may explain this situation. And our national wine industry is growing too.
Yeah. And was the traditional drink of Brazil, was it like pisco or something? Like before wine caught on, was there other spirits or drinks that were more popular?
Yeah, we have a large consumption of a spirit named cachaça, which is made from cane sugar. And people drink very much beer here too.
Ah,
A lot of beer.
lots of beer. Okay. Bring on the wine. So back to the wines. You mentioned house wines, vino de mesa, as often having peculiar foxy aromas. I hear that term a lot, foxy. Maybe you can tell us what it means to you, because I love to get people's definitions of what does that smell like? Fox, like a real fox, or are you referring to something different?
Yes, this is a term for, say, for wine geeks. You can find it in wine books. Foxy is an aroma or a smell, but first, I've never smelled a real fox. Let me
Me
be clear
neither.
about this. But this smell is caused by a substance named methyl anthranilate, and it reminds, say, fur or wet fur, and it's typical of Labrusca grapes, like Concord, for instance, which exists in the United States, or our Isabel or Isabella. The wines made from such grapes have this foxy character, but you won't find it in vinifera wines.
Huh. Okay. Wet floor, like wet indoor floor? Like you've just washed the floor?
Oh, excuse me, I mentioned my pronunciation is not good. It's far, F-U-R,
Oh, wet fur.
F-U-R.
Sorry. Yes. That's good. As I said before we started this, your English is excellent, far better than my Portuguese or Brazilian. So thank you. Wet fur. So wet fur. Yes. Foxy. That makes sense. Even though both of us have never smelled a fox and probably never will, but with the
Yeah.
wet fur. Okay. Now you say Brazil does not produce raisins. Does Brazil make dessert wines or sweet wines?
Yes, we do, but not many. On the other hand, we have a lot of sweet, sparkling wine from Muscat, as I said before. But other dessert wines are rare here. From raisins, almost none, because we really don't produce raisins here. And I'm curious to know why, because we have places in the country where the climate is arid enough, dry enough to make raisin production possible, but we don't have them.
Okay. Okay. And you also mentioned that some wine names in Brazil are linked to literary works or local expressions. Can you share a couple of examples with us?
Well, there is a very well-known Brazilian composer, Milton Nascimento. One of his most well-known songs is named Maria Maria. This is the name of a winery near my town. And all their wines are named after women from their family or from history or from people they want to pay homage to. It's interesting too. There is Leo Cades is a bookshopper in the south. He has a winery, and he names his wines after literary characters like Alice in Wonderland or Girl with a earring and so on. But there is much more.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
Wine naming deserves study. It's very interesting what people put on the label.
There's another PhD.
Yeah.
You describe, you can correct me on this, Serra Gaúcha as Brazil's biggest region, most traditional wine region. Can you describe what this region is like, what it kind of looks like, and where it is?
Well, this is a hilly, almost mountainous region north of the capital of Rio Grande do Sul state in the south. And it was to there that the first Italian immigrants arrived and settled themselves. They received, as I said before, small pieces of land called lotes and developed their agriculture there. It has then a long tradition of winemaking. It is a very beautiful region, so green, so fresh, so cool, and with a very well developed tourist structure. It's certainly the first region in Brazil where you should go when you start to knowing our wines. Go to Serra Gaúcha.
And what would we do there? Like, are wineries open to visit? How would we plan a trip there?
Almost every winery has a tasting room and they are open to visitors. There's a very great number of people who go there, especially in weekends or in holidays. Hotels and other things to do, like historical tours, so much to eat. It's a very pretty region and very well organized. Good restaurants, good hotels, good towns to see. And it's not far from the state capital.
Oh, that sounds convenient in terms of flying in and then.
Yes, quite convenient. You can fly to Porto Alegre and then you drive 100 kilometers, not much, north, and you're there.
You're there. Wow. Okay. And you describe the Merlot there as being a style of its own, but that is classical Bordeaux like rather than the Napa Merlots, like the wines of that region.
Yeah, Serra Gaúcha has a climate much more like Bordeaux than like Napa. Napa is warmer, drier, and so Napa Merlots are plush, are ripe, are alcoholic. They have a full body, and not at Serra Gaúcha. Our Merlots are much more like Bordeaux, savory, with quite a good structure of tannins and acidity, very good for food. That's why I said they are more like old words than Napa.
Yes. And what about Tanat as a grape and wine? Is that important in Brazil?
Yes, very important. More in Campanha Gaúcha, which is a region near the border with Uruguay. Uruguay has plenty of Tanat. It's the most well-known, the better-known grape from Uruguay. You pass the border and then you are in Campanha Gaúcha and you have Tanat too. Very good wine, solid wines to have with churrasco, with barbecue, which is a strong tradition here.
Churrasco, is that what you said?
Barbecue, yeah, churrasco.
Okay. Are they very tannic? Because the origin of Tanat, the word, I think refers to tannic. Yeah.
Yes, but not as much tannic as, say, Madiran from France. The tannins are a bit softer, but they are very clear, and the wine needs some time to soften this structure. But with barbecue, it will go very well. The meat has so much protein, it needs tannin.
Yeah. Absolutely. And you describe Sao Paulo as a cosmopolitan city, a melting pot of different cultures and influences. So, this would also be a great city to visit as well?
For sure, São Paulo is our largest city, and it has everything there. From all parts of the world came people to São Paulo. You can eat food from anywhere there, and there's a lot of good restaurants with very complete wine charts, Brazilian or worldly. There's nothing, no lack of things to do in São Paulo. A real melting pot.
And how far is Sao Paulo from the region Serra Gaúcha? Gaucha.
Now, not so far. By plane, it takes how 1 hour and some minutes to go from São Paulo to near Serra Gaúcha.
Okay. So,
By car, it will take 2 days, but by plane, it's not so far.
oh, that's great.
So it's easy if you arrive at São Paulo and take another plane and go to Rio Grande do Sul and Serra Gaúcha.
Spend some time in the city and then go to the wine region. That sounds like fun.
Yeah, and São Paulo is not far from Rio too, which is a famous city. Rio de Janeiro is the city.
Okay. Okay. You mentioned Tirolesa, the zip lining over Fortaleza Canyon in Cambara do Sol. Beyond the thrill of doing this, the breathtaking landscape of these regions, what would you see as you did a zip line over that region? What would it look like below you?
Well, this place where there are canyons, there's a single winery there, which is quite recent, and they are not making wine from their grapes, planted on a very peaty soil. There's a lot of peat there. But the region is not far from Serra Gaúcha, and you can go from one place to another. But there it's, say, wild country and very cold. It's the coldest part in Rio Grande do Sul. There's snow there. It's a beautiful place to go, but not so much for wine.
All right. You also mention in your book the heavy taxation on wines. We suffer from it in Canada as well, and the complex bureaucracy. Do you think that's had a big influence in terms of the development, maybe the slowing of the development of the Brazilian wine industry? And what do you think needs to change?
What we would like to be changed, it is very difficult to change, which is precisely heavy taxation. Especially today, when our economy is not, say, in a very good state, it's impossible for the government to renounce the taxes. We have no hope of this happening.
Right, right, yeah.
Bureaucracy is ingrained into all our government instances too. It will take a lot of time for this to ameliorate. I'm a little, say, hopeless about two subjects. But it would be very good if we had lower taxes, allowing the wines to be less expensive.
Agreed. It's what we're fighting here in Canada as well. It's like a really valuable agricultural product, and yet they treat it like, I don't know, like gasoline, fossil fuels, or cigarettes, or it's like, why are you
Yeah,
doing
or
this?
luxury products.
Yeah.
It's not, it's food.
Yes.
Wine is food.
Yes. Absolutely. You say Brazilian wines deserve more exposure. What's one message you hope to convey to international wine lovers and professionals about Brazilian wines that they may not already know or appreciate?
Well, I think that precisely they are not known and appreciated. It takes some more curiosity or exploring spirit to know our wines and get contact with them and read my book. I hope so. And after knowing more and tasting more, if they are tasted, I'm sure they will be better known because they are good.
Well, there's the challenge. Thinking about the future, where do you see Brazilian wine heading, the wine industry? What do you think or hope for it to be in 5 years, 10 years, or beyond?
Well, for someone who accompanies the Brazilian wine industry for decades like me, it's amazing how we have improved. Our wines every year get better. I hope this trend will go on. Our wines will improve much more in the following years. And as such, they will deserve more consumption, more knowledge, and more exporting. We Brazilians also know our wines so badly. We should do an effort to know them better, not only for people abroad.
Right, absolutely. Now, I know your book is new, but is there anything that you would add to a future edition, an updated edition, or anything you've discovered since?
Now, I think that no book is updated when it's published.
Yeah,
A lot of things are always happening, and wine here in a true state of flux.
yes,
You'll hear about new wineries almost every day, and a new edition will certainly include more producers.
yes, that's true. The minute a book is published, it's out of date, but yours is well worth the read.
It's unavoidable. We must conform to this.
It's true. So, Tufi, if you could share a bottle of wine with any person in the world, living or dead, outside the wine industry, who would that be?
Hard to say, but well, perhaps if we include dead people, perhaps the composer Gustav Mahler.
Ah, okay.
I would take him perhaps to say Hotel Zachen in Vienna. Do I have some limitations to order wine
No,
or no?
the bill's on me, so you order whatever you want for Mahler.
We together would sip very slowly a bottle of a very old Tokai Essencia.
Ah.
No food at all.
Huh.
It would be accompanied by meditation, and I would ask him about his thoughts when he composed Das Lied von der Erde, such a beautiful song cycle. Many lyrics there from Chinese poems are on wine and life and on wine and death.
Hmm.
It's a very beautiful music that I would like very much what Mahler had in his head when he composed
That's lovely.
this.
And Tokai Essentia, is that a Hungarian sweet wine?
Yes, one of the sweetest wines that you may taste, but with such a high acidity and low alcohol that you can taste it forever, and it lingers forever on your tongue, on
Mm.
your mouth, and of course in our memories.
Ah, just like
And
Mahler.
unforgettable,
Ha, that's
really.
lovely.
Pity it's not Brazilian.
Right. If you could put up a billboard in downtown Sao Paulo, what would you say on it?
Drink more Brazilian wine, please.
Well, there you go. Campaign for the national wines.
Yeah.
That sounds great. And this has been wonderful, Tufi. As we wrap up our conversation, is there anything you wanted to mention that we have not covered?
So I just thank you so very much for this.
My
It
pleasure.
was very good to know you and to have such a nice conversation.
You've
It's
opened my
always good
eyes.
to talk about wine.
Absolutely. Yeah, brings everyone together who has a passion for it. And you've really opened my eyes and
Yes,
taste buds now for
really.
Brazilian wine. So I must try
I
some.
hope so.
Yes, absolutely. All right, Tufi, you have an incredible depth of knowledge on Brazilian wines. Thank you for sharing it with me and us, everyone who's listening. I'm going to say goodbye, but I hope that next time we can share a glass or a bottle of Brazilian wine together.
Okay. Thank you.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Well, there you have it. I hope you enjoyed our chat with Tufi. Here are my takeaways. Number 1. Why is Serra Gaúcha the best place to start exploring Brazilian wine, and what does this stunning region look like if you want to visit? As Tufi says, it's a hilly, almost mountainous region north of the capital of Rio Grande in the south. So it was there that the first Italian immigrants arrived and settled themselves. They received small pieces of land and developed agriculture, and of course, that involved traditional winemaking. It's a beautiful region, green, fresh, cool, with a well-developed tourist infrastructure. And it's the first region in Brazil, he says, where you should go if you really want to learn about Brazilian wines. Almost every winery has a tasting room, and they're welcoming to visitors. Lots of people go there on weekends and holidays. There's good restaurants, hotels, and lots to see. And of course, it's not far from the state capital. Number 2, which grape varieties thrive in Brazil, and how are they different from other grapes? Tufi explains that like Argentina, the US, Canada, Chile, European grapes are the most successful in Brazil. Think Chardonnay, Sauvignon Blanc, Pinot Noir, Syrah, Cabernet Sauvignon, Franc. And these are the most successful grapes so far. They also make their own vinifera wines, varieties that were developed in Brazil. The most successful so far is Lorena, or Larina, which you will not find anywhere else. They developed it as a cross. It's a white grape, very aromatic, muscat-like, reminds him of Gewürztraminer. Very successful, growing in popularity. Brazil has also tried to develop exclusive red grapes, but so far, he says, not with great results. And number 3, what's happening with the wine culture in Brazil? Wine consumption is growing, Tufi says, although slowly. But with the pandemic, they increased by 50% on consumption. After the pandemic, it lowered a bit. That's very typical of most countries. But they are drinking more than ever. Wine has become fashionable, it's great with food, and people are curious. Wine education is progressing, and the national wine industry is growing. And as we know, when wine industry grows, so does its wine culture. In the show notes, you'll find the full transcript of my conversation with Tufi, links to his website, the video versions of these conversations on Facebook and YouTube Live, and where you can order my book online now, no matter where you live. If you missed episode 64, go back and take a listen. I chat about going around the world in 80 wines with Mike Viseth. I'll share a short clip with you now to whet your appetite.
I learned that there was such a thing as a wine economist from a famous winemaker. My wife Sue and I were newlyweds, and it was so long ago that people without a lot of money could take a budget vacation in Napa Valley. On the way back in the last day, we were driving up the Silverado Trail, and I saw this name. If I knew more about wines then, that I would have recognized that it was the name of a winery that was kind of famous for that Judgment of Paris that had gone on before. So we pulled in for one last tasting, and he pulled out the corks and poured the bottles, and he began to talk. He learned that I was an economist. Suddenly, he began to ask me very serious questions. He wanted to know about inflation rates, because they were moving up, and interest rates. And it really made a difference to him because his business involved a lot of capital investment, involved a lot of time for the vineyards, for the agent. He really wanted to know when these wines were ready, would consumers be there, be a good situation to sell them.
You won't want to miss next week when we chat with Alex Maltman, Professor Emeritus of Earth Sciences at Aberystwyth University in Wales, United Kingdom. We'll chat about his new book, Taste the Limestone, Smell the Slate. A geologist wanders through the world of wine. He has some marvelous stories, and his science is so relatable and gettable. I really love chatting with him. If you liked this episode or learned even one thing from it, please email or tell a friend about the podcast this week. Don't leave me alone here, please. I need more friends, especially someone you know who'd be interested in learning more about the wines of Brazil. It's easy to find the Unreserved Wine Talk podcast. Just tell them to search for that title or my name, Natalie McLean Wine, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, their favorite podcast app, or they can listen to the show on my website at nataliemclean.com/podcast. Email me if you have a sip tip question or would like to win one of 2 copies of the books I have to give away. I'd also love to hear your thoughts on this episode, or if you've read my book or are listening to it, email me at natalie@nataliemclean.com. And remember, there is a free online food and wine pairing class to take with me called The 5 Wine and Food Pairing Mistakes That Can Ruin Your Dinner and How to Fix Them Forever. Happily ever after at nataliemclean.com/class. That's all in the shoe notes at nataliemclean.com/355. Thank you for taking the time to join me here. I hope something great is in your glass this week, perhaps a wine from Brazil's beautiful Serra Gaúcha region. You don't want to miss one juicy episode of this podcast, especially the secret, full-bodied bonus episodes that I don't announce on social media. So, subscribe for free now at nataliemclean.com/subscribe. Meet me here next week. Cheers.